Welcome. My name is Nick Osborne, and in this short presentation, I'm just going to show you 7 examples of conversational copywriting. Why? Well, mainly because lots of people have asked me to. People keep asking, they read my stuff about conversational copywriting and they say, hey Nick, can you show us some examples? So that's what we're going to do. It's not an exhaustive list. I'm not saying, hey, this is everything I have to say about conversational copywriting, very far from it. But hopefully it will just kind of tweak your mind a bit and get you into that conversational mindset and help you get out there and recognize when copy is conversational and when it's not, when it's like overly salesy or just plain boring. So let's jump straight in with number 1 with the idea of being inclusive. So this is taken from Anne Handley's personal blog, her personal website and blog. Anne Handley is Chief Content Officer at Marketing Profs. If you have anything to do with the content marketing world, you will no doubt have heard of her again and again. She is an excellent writer. She's always been an excellent writer, and she has a very personal style and a very, to my mind, conversational style. So let's just tease apart some of this that she's written here. So this is the beginning of the post, and she starts off, recently my friend Ben Opsal sent me a note. All right, short sentence, short opening sentence, just like it's so simple. But what she's doing here is it's not like, hey, I'm going to write a blog post all about what I think and just sit down and listen. She's just saying, hey, recently a friend of mine sent me a note. It's like something she might say to you around the water cooler, or in the minutes before some meeting or something. It's conversational right from the get-go. So she goes on, and I'm not going to read it all, but basically she hasn't been writing very much for her personal blog. So let's go down to paragraph 3. So she says, so what gives? Ben said. Lots of stuff to complain about there with grammar. That's fine. The whole thing is much closer to spoken language than formal written language. This isn't like business writing. This isn't like academic writing. This is very conversational writing. So then she says, I wrote back to him explaining that I'm kind of busy with Marketing Profs and lots more I did produce throughout 2017, just not for my own site. Look at this last paragraph. Even as I wrote that to Ben, naming him, it felt weird. Like an excuse, a cop-out. Why didn't I write for my own site? Yeah, what gives? So now she's got this internal dialogue going on. She's actually got an internal conversation going on inside of her own mind. And because of the way she's written the whole piece, it is inclusive. We are included in that thought process. We're included, we're invited to enter into this space as she throws these questions around in her mind. This to me is just an outstanding example of what it means to write conversationally. So, number 2, be transparent. So this is from my friend Drayton Bird, who I sometimes show off saying, hey, I've been in the copywriting game for 38 years. I think Drayton's been doing this for 50 years, and he's an outstanding copywriter. He's the only copywriter I know who has a testimonial from David Ogilvy on his homepage. Anyway, so he's a colorful fellow, so prepare yourself for a little colorful language. And this is an email he wrote. I got it. I'm subscribed to whatever it is I subscribe to, and I got this email. And he says, earlier today, I said on LinkedIn that if you were one of my 5,019 connections, I'd give a free gift as a thank you. You can have a copy of my ebook, blah, 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 blah. And then I don't know if it happens to you, but when I connect with people, many immediately try to sell me something. Remember, Drayton is a marketer and a copywriter. This is A, bloody irritating, and B, a damn hard/stupid way to sell. So I'm trying to do what good salespeople do, as if you were the amateur. First get to know people, then figure out what you want and need. So what's he doing here? It's like he's kind of pulling back the curtain. It's like he's exposing how the magician does his or her tricks. He's like saying to the reader, hey, I'm like you. I'm not like them. I'm not one of these heavy-handed marketers. This is what they do, but that's not what I do. I'm going to do this the right way. But he's being totally transparent. And as such, again, he's inviting you in. He's including you, the reader, in this little cheeky adventure in his own mind. All right? It's totally the opposite of how marketers and copywriters write, because they don't pull back the curtain. They don't tell you. They don't expose the magic that they're trying to weave. He does. And by doing so, he is like Anne in a sense, is being inclusive. He's being inclusive through transparency. And when you're transparent in this way, what do? You build trust. And when you build trust, what do? You make it far more likely that people are going to end up buying from you. So here's another example. This is from Sumo. So this is an online service, business to business service for marketers online. Let's look at the heading here. Want more sales in the next 30 days. So as soon as you write a question, if you do it right, you're being conversational, because again, you're being inclusive. You're soliciting some kind of response from the reader. But more telling here is, if you were writing this headline correctly, through the way you learned at school or through your business practice, you'd write, do you want more sales in the next 30 days? But when we speak conversationally, when we talk, we don't say do you. We're very likely to say want more sales. And as we go in here, and I'm not going to read it all, but I'm going to go down to that bold, very short paragraph. And again, this short text, short paragraph is a sign of being conversational. It's how we speak. In business language, in marketing language, we often have longer sentences, longer paragraphs, but not in conversation. So down to the bold bit. Wouldn't it be nice for us to show you what they're doing? Question mark. Why, yes. Yes, it would be. So we're sharing some epic lessons. Just those first two sentences, very short. Why? Yes. Yes, it would be. Again, what's happening is the writer is creating this dialogue by himself, but in the process is including you, the reader, is engaging you, the reader, is using the power of conversation to draw you in and make you part of this message. Number 4, using everyday language, particularly as it relates to your audience. So this is Angel's Cup. This is a coffee company. Actually, they're one of those coffee subscription. It's a coffee club subscription service where you kind of sign up and you say, yes, send me 2 bags of coffee once a month or every 2 weeks or whatever. This is run by a young couple. They're millennials. And here's their homepage, or the first screen of their homepage. Become a coffee hunter. It's written to you, the reader. No, it's not about them. It's not about their business. It's not about how spiffy, how wonderful and spiffy their business is. They're talking to you, the reader. Become a coffee hunter. It's an invitation. And then under there, crazy variety, awesome roasters, blind tastings, and an active community. Remember, this is 2 millennials, so they're not using formal old person language. This is just regular language that their target market might be using, sitting down in a coffee shop in conversation with one another. Take your coffee game to the next level, starting at $9.99 a month, etc. And then the button underneath. Skip the pitch and join now. So now we're going back to Drayton Bird and his transparency. These guys are doing the same. They're saying, hey, we know everyone's trying to sell stuff to you. We know that, hey, it's true. As you scroll down, we're going to try and persuade you to do this. If you want to skip all that and join now, click this button. So yeah, there's this transparency as well. So there's the simple everyday language, informal writing, transparency about the process, very conversational, very open. Number 5, this is not so much about language as it is about process. So on the left there, if you ever want to sign up for Jeff Walker's product launch formula product, then you do it on his website page, but it's not always open. He kind of opens the door to that, 2 or 3 times a year. And if it's not open for new students, then you get this message saying, sorry, registration closed, and then join the notification list. Now, we know what happens when we join notification lists. First there's a pause, and then we are stuck in this kind of sales funnel, and this barrage of emails comes pouring in to persuade us to part with our money. What he's found, and what he's found here is part of Ryan Levesque's Ask method, is this kind of micro commitment survey. So in the old days, if you saw that little message on the left, you join the notification list, you click on that button there, and then you'd be taken to a place where you add your name and email address. Now you have this other bit in between that says, hey, just tell us a little about who you are. Are you just starting out? Have you already got an online business? Have you got an offline business? So you check one of those radio buttons. So in terms of process, what happens is you now go to where you share your name and email address, but you are also then sent customized information based on which one of those radio buttons you click. But the key part here, the interesting part, and the what I call, it's on the edge of conversational process here, is that by including the reader in the process, the sign up process. In other words, not just the usual join the list and then, okay, I'm going to give them my contact information. It's like, oh, hey, they're asking me to tell them something about myself. So in fact, usually when you add an extra step in a process like this, it reduces conversion rates. In this case, it increases conversion rates because you're giving the reader, your audience, more of a sense of control over what's coming next. That sense of participation, that they're part of it, that they have a choice. They can say, oh yeah, this is who I am. So don't send me the usual blanket stuff. Send me information that is relevant to me. So is this conversational copywriting? No, but it is, to my mind, conversational marketing, because it is getting the reader to participate in the process. There's that element of back and forth. Okay, number 6, a cure for lifeless descriptive text. In the conversational copywriting course, I put a lot of focus on sales copy and improving sales copy by making it more conversational. But you can also cure an awful lot of really boring descriptive text. So the web is awash with pages that are describing products and services. So on the left here, this is taken from a website. I changed the actual name of it to protect the guilty, but here's just a sentence from, and it's so typical. So the Tenko family place resorts, all-inclusive family vacations, give you a top family vacation with your kids and time to reconnect as a couple too. Right, so really long, it's a long sentence. It's like including all kinds of thoughts. It's just not good writing in terms of engaging the reader. So the after version on the right, that's actually a small part of an after version, and it was written by one of the students as part of an assignment within the conversational copywriting course. And look at this, overheard at the Tenko Place Family Resort. This kids only stuff is awesome. I bet mum and dad are bored. So two things here. One is there's some speech thrown in here. We got this is someone talking, so it's not just flat description. It's actually telling a story. It's in the mind of someone. It's in the mind of a member of the audience. So it's not someone at the resort or their copywriter describing. It's actually the voice of someone at the resort who's actually saying the same thing but far more powerfully. The other thing, the beautiful thing about this is the kind of switcheroo, the way this is turned around. It's the kids who are having a great time worrying if their mum and dad are bored. It's a beautiful just turnaround. So those lines on the right, they say far more than the lines on the left. And they say it in this kind of verbal, conversational, interesting, engaging way. I mean, that's the power of conversation, to cure all that boring descriptive text out there on the web. So on the subject of product descriptions, you can't get much more boring than describing a razor or some, what's that, shave butter. At the bottom there. So this screenshot I picked up from, I've quoted the sources eConsultancy because they were the ones, I saw this in an article they posted, and they're the ones who provide the little yellow arrows there. So talking about the shaver, it's the usual stuff, 6 stainless steel blades, 4 cartridges per month, blah, 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 blah. And then right in the middle, almost as if they're checking to see if you're still paying attention, it says, this blade comes from the future and lives in outer space. Clearly not, but it's kind of delightful insofar. It's like the teacher in a class who just says something ridiculous just to see if the class is still paying attention. At the bottom there, the shave butter, again, blah, 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 blah. And at the bottom, tested on interns, not animals. So slightly troubling, but also faintly amusing, and a break with the usual product description stuff, which can be so dull and so boring. So the whole idea of humor, is humor conversational? It certainly can be. Again, if you go back to the water cooler, the bar after work, the lunch break, whatever, humor is part of an awful lot of our conversations. The smiling, the laughter, it's part of how we connect with one another, how we converse with one another, how we communicate with one another. So yeah, I think a little light humor can definitely be part of the conversational approach. So being a conversational copywriter, It's less about writing at your audience. It's more about engaging with your audience. It's less about being the boss of a one-way communication, and that's a huge thing. We are so used to being in control. We're the boss of this messaging to our audience to convert them from strangers into buyers. We're the boss. Not if you want to do well, you're not, because the harder you push, the harder they'll push back. This is much more about being a participant in a real conversation. That's what conversational writing and conversational copywriting is all about. And ultimately, it's always about building trust. You don't build trust by pushing harder. You build trust through conversation, through being engaging, through being open, through being inclusive. That's how you build trust. And when you build trust, yes, then you make more sales. And that's why conversational copywriting works so well. So that's it. I thank you for your attention if you're still with me at this point. And whether you're enrolled in the course or not, and if you're not, I hope you do, because this is a powerful way to write and to sell online. But either way, check back at the site because there's always updates. I'll be adding more presentations like this, and I'm adding new blog posts once or twice a week. So there you go. There's the URL. If you're not there right now, go there, check it out, and discover the amazing world of conversational copywriting. Okay, thanks. Bye.